Kyle, this is by far from your first training camp, but it is your first in COVID. For all of us, it's really kind of difficult to navigate, but we're finding people are really coming together to try to make the best of it. I mean, from your side, how is it? We're now meeting officially, by the way, on Zoom.
Yeah, it's been obviously it's unique times for everybody. The thing that I've been really impressed with from an organizational standpoint is our support staff. You know, you got ever since this pandemic really started, Chris Boyer is a guy who's kind of an OG in our organization for a long time, and he's took on a leadership role ever since the pandemic happened way back in March. And with the training camp approaching, we weren't real sure about how it's going to, what the setup's going to be. The league came through with protocols and setups that we had to do for training camp. Our building wasn't really suited for 80 guys, 100 people to be socially distanced. So John Racky is a guy who's probably the MVP of our training camp right now, who set up all the tents that you see behind you and secondary locker rooms, secondary workout rooms, all those things. RB, his training staff has been outstanding. Joe Caulfield, Ian Abici, monitoring our gadget. I don't know if you can see this socially distancing gadget that we got on our wrist, but those guys make sure all that stuff is charged up. Security staff, everybody's really played a part in getting the training camp going.
You know, there's times if we have ours on right now and you're in your office, which is apparently just literally on the other side of the wall right here, it would go off because we're too close to each other, even though there's a wall and a glass between us. That's how serious.
I walked by you guys and you've lit me up before a couple of times. I could see it start going off. But yes, that's how it is. That's how it works.
And also you bring up an interesting point in the locker rooms on how they're separate. Okay, so I saw Chase Young this morning having to walk to the bubble because that's where his locker room is. Like, is that part of rookie hazing at all?
No, that's the way it is. That's the way it's set up. There's guys spread out all over the place. We got the bubble. We got down in the tent kind of behind you where you can see down there near the turf fields. And then obviously our normal locker room. But it's really, once you get used to it, it's uncomfortable, but like I said, all those guys you mentioned, the support staff, they've made it comfortable for as comfortable as it can be for everybody in the building.
And it seems to be working because the numbers that are testing positive, they just don't even exist right now, which is really great and gives you a lot of hope for the season going off. One thing, though, that makes it really difficult for your job now as VP of Player Personnel, by the way, is evaluating the team. And there's no preseason to do that. So everybody wants to know, how is it that you're trying to dwindle? It went from 90 to 80 automatically coming in because of COVID. How do you get to that 53?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, but, it is what it is. 32 teams are dealing with the same thing. From a evaluation standpoint, our coaching staff has done a great job with the tempo of practice in the compete periods. That's what you're looking for as an evaluator, is seeing our guys compete and are they servicing each other out there with good tempo, high volume, high reps, to where we can get an evaluation. The challenging part will be, Julie, the special teams aspect, because special teams is where you use the preseason live tackling, running down that back end of your roster, depending if it's wide receivers, running backs, corners, linebackers. A lot of that is determined based off of special teams and how do they contribute. So that will be the challenging part, but Nate Katzer, our special teams coach, is as good as there is in the league, in my opinion. There ain't no question about it, and he does a great job with his drills and practice to give us a good look and evaluate.
You know, you're not new to this franchise, while you are maybe new to the position itself, but how have you seen things change under Ron Rivera?
Well, it's been good working with Coach Rivera. It's been pretty smooth, the transition, and we work well together, and our staffs work well together. The coaching staff has been impressive through free agency, the draft, and now into training camp. So the process has been really good. I'm excited about the direction moving forward.
So, per se, there's no general manager, right? You have Ron Rivera on the football, you have now Jason Wright over the team, and then you have you yourself over player personnel. Is that kind of, fans are kind of curious, is that how it's going to be going forward? And how does that kind of really work to make sure that everything gets done the way that it needs to, fully functioning?
Yeah, well, all I know is what my job is, and my job in personnel is to help, obviously with coach, it's a pretty clear path that was talked about with Mr. Snyder from the first day that he was hired. It's a coach-centric organization. And my job and the rest of our staff's job is to create clarity for coach to make football decisions. And that's through great communication, being honest, being open about evaluations, about where our opinions on what we think we should do. And that's how we're going to move moving forward. And I like the setup as far as business. I stay in my lane in the football side. Business side is what it is. So I don't really know that part of it.
When I was talking with Coach and coming here too, he says, when some of the best advice he was given was just do what you do well and stick with that and then hire the right people that do something well. And then before you know it, we all come together and you have a great team. Look, he was brought in here because the team wasn't doing so well, 3-13 last season. If you're to try and look, and I'm not going to ask you the raw bubble, guys are going to get there, but if you're to evaluate what they're going to do in 2020, what would your outlook be?
Well, I think right now, whenever you have a new staff and a new coaching staff and coordinators, philosophy, we can talk till we're blue in the face, which we have done in free agency and the draft, of what is Coach Del Rio's philosophy and how we're going to attack and what are the pieces he needs to be successful on defense. Same thing with Coach Turner. We can talk about it all we want and we have to find the pieces, but now when we're in the season, we got the games and we're seeing how that scheme is implemented in live games, and how do our players fit into that, and what do we need pieces moving forward. We have a good idea of where we want to go, even from right now, at this point now with the draft and free agency, what we potentially might need or positions of focus moving forward, but we won't really know until we actually see offense and defensive scheme, live fire, live bullets out on the field with our personnel that we have right now. So it's exciting being a new direction, being fresh, being first starting, you know what I mean? And now we can build moving forward. We have some good pieces, we feel young pieces that we can build with. And it's exciting the potential of adding to those guys.
In free agency, since you bring that up, you went out and brought a lot of guys in that are like 1-year prove-it deals. You didn't bring in the big name where you went and spent a ton of money. What was the philosophy behind that?
Well, I think with any player acquisition, there's a lot of ways to do everything. Free agency, you can go out and get one guy and pay over the moon for him. But the one thing that we stressed is, we want to set ourselves up for the draft. If we think we have, say, for example, and this isn't true, but say you had 12 needs that you needed. If you fulfill some of those focus areas in free agency, you set yourself up for the draft to where you're not pushing guys off the board. You let the draft board speak to you, and you take the best player available that fits you and your system and your scheme, and you're not going in saying, oh my God, we need this. And then you start moving guys up the board and overdrafting guys. So we're starting fresh. Like I said, we're not in any, hey, we got to rush. We're always looking to win every game, every day. And that's the goal. That's always going to be the goal. But we want to build this thing the right way. And that was kind of the philosophy going into free agency. And that could change next year. There might be a big dog up there that we want to pay a lot of money to, and we might do that if we think it's the right move for us. So we can do it a lot of different ways.
Also looking forward to next year, you have a whole nother challenge here, Kyle, because a lot of conferences in college, they're not playing now. And maybe getting off hopefully in the spring. We don't really even know how much this is going to impact, but what does it do for you when you're trying to look to the draft?
Yeah, well, right now it's really it's been kind of cool, but there's still unknowns, and I'm not going to jump ahead too much, but right now we're going in our normal routine. Tim Gribble is, as we speak, on a call in his office, a Zoom call with a team, college team. That's what's going to happen all fall. These are 4-hour meetings with colleges, learning about the character of the players, which is the most important aspect of the evaluation. So we'll watch the tape from last year. If there are games this year, if people do play in the spring or teams do play in the fall, we'll evaluate those as well. But we've got a plan in place, Tim Gribble and I, and we're going to execute that plan up until something changes, and we'll adapt and change as it goes.
Haskins going now into year 2. We're hearing a lot about the changes in the growth that he's made. You can sit back and you can evaluate him. Where would you say he's at?
Well, right now with Dwayne, he's one of the other 79 guys that are on our roster. Right now, it's about implementing where we are going forward, what our practice habits are, what our tempo is, what our offense is, what's expected from Coach Turner, Coach Zampese, the coaching points, your eye discipline, progression reads, all those things is about owning our offense. With Dwayne, obviously, and all the quarterbacks, experience is key, and that's playing in live games. So right now, he's taking ownership along with everybody else, all the other quarterbacks, everybody, of our playbook, learning from the veteran guys in that room, and continuing to get better. He's changed his body. He's been working hard. He's been working hard in practice. Every one of those players out there, I've been impressed with the work habits, and that's how we're handling it going forward.
All right, so we made it through this interview without your alarm going off or mine, which means we're at least 6 feet apart, although it's probably 6.5 feet, I would guess.
Yeah, we're all set. We actually moved down the hall just so that it wouldn't, the Zoom thing,
Right.
the computers wouldn't get crossed.
Yeah, again, making the best of what we can in this time
Yep.
and trying to make sure we get football off and running successfully. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.